The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Armed Radio Global, and you're listening to Sports Insider. My name is Glenn Spillman. I will be your host this evening. Hello, East Coast, Boston. Coming at you live from the West Coast, California. Hello, the world. For those of you who would like to listen to not only my show, but other shows on this channel, you can go to tunein.com. Search Armed Radio and look at that little yellow icon that says Armed Radio. Click on that and you could listen to shows like Nighttime with Joe Rocks every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday nights at 11, you got Amy Tafala with Rock Talk. What's the Story? You've got Ask for Candy, All You Could Eat. The show before mine is Pot Talk with Jim and Paul. The show after mine, you've got Betrayal. Many, a plethora of shows on Armed Radio, ladies and gentlemen. So whatever your tastes may be, whatever your likes may be, Armed Radio has got it. So, hey, if you want to go check them out, go to armedradioglobal.com. They hit shows or artists, and it'll show you all that. And if you miss a show for whatever reason, go to Spreaker.com. You can type in Sports Insider, and boom, it'll pop up. You can listen to it anytime you want, or you could download it. Or if you're in your car, you can go to TuneIn and listen to it that way. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to the show. Another little shameless promotion. My new book came out about 2 days ago, Blood Spirit. You can go to Amazon.com, type in my name, Glenn Spillman, and it'll pop up with all the other books that I've done on there. For those of you who want to call into the show and ask a sports question, number is, get your pen and paper out, drum roll. Number is 916-420-0697. Again, that is 916-420-0697. Tonight, about 6:15, we're going to call MMA fighter Drew Montgomery. He's going to be the special guest on the show tonight. So let's get into some news, some sports news. A little sad. We're going to start off a little sad. Going to get you crying a little bit. Professional wrestler King Kong Bundy died at the age of 61. I think he died the same day that Luke Perry died. And he was 52 years old. He died of a stroke. Don't know how King Kong Bundy died. They haven't released any news on that. His real name, however, was Christopher Pallies. He was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey. He was 6'4", 458 freaking pounds. Almost a quarter ton of a man. He made his pro wrestling debut at the World Wrestling. Back then, it was called the World Wrestling Federation. Nowadays, it's called World Wrestling Entertainment. Myself personally, I like the World Wrestling Federation. He debuted in 1981, but he was best known and made his name when he fought Hulk Hogan in 1986 in a steel cage match at WrestleMania 2. If you're French, do. If you're Mexican, dos, which Hulk Hogan won, obviously. And Bundy was also opposite alongside many of the other biggest names of the era, including Andre the Giant, Bobby the Brain Heenan, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, which he went to OU, Boomer Sooner, and The Undertaker. So he kind of crossed over into the acting realm, and he was on shows like Married with Children and Boy Meets World. So our condolences go out to the family and friends and anyone that knew King Kong Bundy. So, interesting stuff going on with the NFL Combine. Now, Kyler Murray, there's been a lot of big hype and a lot of big talk about Kyler Murray and the NFL Combine. He didn't do so well. He didn't have a good outing. But what does that even mean? That he didn't run the 40 fast enough, he didn't jump high enough. Now, he claims to be 5'10", but he looks to be more like 5'8.5", 5'9", if you look at him. But what is the Combine, really? I mean, you get all these guys out there, and you're showcasing yourself to sports agents, sports general managers, coaches, owners, all of these cats. You're running the 40, you're doing the long jump, you're doing the high jump, you're doing skills, and you might have a bad day. You might have a great day. Now, just because you have a bad NFL Combine, that doesn't translate whether you're going to be bad NFL. And just because you have a great NFL Combine does not translate that you're going to be good in the NFL. So, just because you're bad doesn't mean you're going to be bad. Just because you're good doesn't mean you're going to be good. So, will Kyler Murray go number 1 overall to the Cardinals? Well, that's the rumor right now. But, I would like to see him on a team that has a chance to do something. And, I don't want to see him go on a team and be backup. I mean, he passed up going into the Major League. He was drafted by the Oakland A's. I think it was either $4 million or $4.5 million contract that he signed with the A's, and he turned that down. Had to give all that money back, except I believe the signing bonus, because he wanted to play NFL. That was his love. So it doesn't really. The Combine, I don't put too much precedence into the Combine. So needless to say, one cat, I thought this was funny. This was on social media. He did this, I believe, on his Instagram. David Irving, he was a former Dallas Cowboys player, smoking weed. It appeared he was smoking a blunt. And he said he was not happy with the NFL's stance on marijuana use because he's been busted before with substance abuse, banned substance. And so he said, basically, I quit. I'm walking away. Bye. See you later. Peace out. I'm not doing this anymore. And I believe the guy is 23 or 24 years old, so he's probably going to regret that one. And I just thought it was funny. But a really cool story we talked about last week where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar put up a lot of his memorabilia because he helps kids that, with his foundation, and he's teaching them, with the foundation helps teach them science and math and stuff like that. His collection of memorabilia from his Hall of Fame career reached nearly $3 million at an auction on Sunday. But 234 lots through Golden Auctions, and much, not all, but much of the proceeds went to his Skyhook Foundation. And we are getting tweets, and we are getting people texting us sports questions. Oh, we have one person saying, have a good show. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So the item sold for exactly $2,947,872.25. The rings that commemorated the Lakers titles in the 80s had starting bids of $60,000 to $65,000 starting bids. And those rings alone accounted for 4 of the 5 highest sales in the auctions. So his 1987 ring went for $398,937.50. Where did they get the 50 cents? Where did they get the 25 cents? I mean, yeah, I want to bid $65,000.19. I want to bid $70,000. Oh, I want to bid $70,025. So then his 1985 ring went for $343,700. No cents. Just and his 1980-1988 rings went for $245,500 each. So that's cool. I mean, that is really cool that he did that. I mean, who else is going to put up their champion? I mean, you work a lifetime as a kid, going to college, going through high school, all this stuff, as a kid, hoping and praying that one day that you will walk away with a championship ring, and this cat sells them for his foundation. I think that is absolutely cool. Lakers are imploding right now, losing just a few days ago. They lost to the worst team in the league, and again, most of the players on the Lakers were going to get traded because they want to trade for Anthony Davis. So these guys are pissed off, and they're not too happy. So they're not really giving their 100% in this. So Lakers are imploding. They're not going to go to the playoffs. So I say they're not. They mathematically still have a chance, but will it happen? I guess we shall see. But right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to call our guest, Drew the Hammer Montgomery. So let's hope that he is ready, willing, and able to get on the show. So let's give this 2 seconds. Let's give this guy a call. Here we go.
Hello.
Drew the Hammer Montgomery, how's it going, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going, man. So, hey, Drew, man, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me. And
absolutely. I'm real happy to be here.
Yeah. So, hey, real quick, man, I always like to get fighters that have these nicknames. How did you get the nickname The Hammer?
I took a last fight for Elite XC, Showtime XC. They weren't up and running for very long. They quickly got bought out by Strikeforce, which then got bought out by the UFC, which then Elite XC, Strikeforce people kind of spun off and did the Bellator thing. So they've always been kind of like the secondary, world-class organization, as you call it, kind of like the WCW wrestling organization comparable to the WWE.
Right.
And we go out there, and Jimmy Lennon Jr., world famous boxing and MMA announcer, he says, "Hey, to my trainer, hey, I need a nickname for this guy. My fight was not meant to be on TV." And he said, "We got fights scheduled for Showtime, we got fights scheduled for CBS, but we need a nickname for this guy. He's an undercard guy. We need something to kind of draw the crowd, and the crowd will kind of be getting here during these fights. And, we want to kind of spice up the matches a little bit." And they said, "Okay, well, how about the Hammer?" And I walked out and I heard that name. I said, "Okay, I guess it just kind of stuck after that." But, and it had been used prior. There's Mark the Hammer Coleman. I think there's a boxer with the nickname the Hammer. But, after that, we kind of just stuck with it. It kind of went with me being a striker. Most of my fights coming by way of knockout. So,
Yeah.
decided not to turn back at that point.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at your record here, man, and a lot of your fights, Ended in a TKO or KO. There was a couple submissions on there. Your very first fight against Steven Jester, your I believe your pro debut, was the GC 55 beatdown. You beat this cat with a TKO and punches in 12 seconds.
Yes.
What do you remember about that fight?
Well, to be quite honest, that guy looked about as scary as any individual on the face of the earth. This guy was 6'7", 270 pounds.
Oh, my God.
He came out with a bunch of bikers. I'm pretty sure he belonged to a very specific group.
Right.
And might say, this is verified. I'm not going to say how, but he did just get out of Folsom Prison.
Oh.
And just needed some quick cash. He looked like the guy that nobody in the crowd wanted to mess with. But to be quite honest, I probably either dodged maybe a bullet that day, or maybe one of the toughest matchups of my career. I was going to fight a young man who nobody knew at the time. His name is now Carl Superman Sayumanatapa. He is on contract with Bellator. He's one of the top heavyweights in California. Samoan guy out of San Francisco, trains with Fairtech, Gilbert Melendez. Really tough camp, really tough guy. Great on the ground, great athlete, extremely strong. He outweighed me by about 30 pounds that day. He showed up, and for whatever reason decided not to take the fight. I think it was due to the fact that my manager had set up the fight, and he wasn't aware of that until the day of, and he didn't know if he was being set up. So I do not at all fault the guy for pulling out, but looking at him now, I think if anybody might have dodged the bullet due to the size difference in ability, it might have been me.
Wow. So you're walking around at 6'4". What's your weight that you're walking around usually?
I walk around between 235 and 240, and I cut all the way to 205.
Wow. Let's talk about cutting and making weight, going down in weight. How difficult is that for you personally to cut about 30 pounds? How long does it take you to do it?
Well, if I cut out the basic carbs, I mean, there's a whole science to it. The first things you have to cut out as a fighter, you're going to have to cut out usually flour, pastas that are not whole grain or gluten-free, dairy, and fruit. And when you look at that, you're talking about at least 75-80% of the stuff that's in the grocery store.
Wow.
No processed food. We're talking a lot of lean meat, vegetables, yams, brown rice, quinoa, certain nuts, very, very minimal fruit, very specific types of berries that don't store a lot of sugar in you. The first 10, 15 pounds comes off pretty easy. I can get down to 221 to 225 pretty easy. However, after that, my body feels depleted of sugars and natural carbs. I was a college football player prior to entering the game of fighting, and my senior year at 23 years old, I was 255 pounds. I was a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing they told me a year later when I started training to be a fighter was, yeah, in this sport, people tend to get down their high school weight. And I said, well, there's no way that's going to happen. I was 205 pounds in my senior year of high school. And that was with lifting weights. And they said, well, at the time I was about 240 pounds. They said, we got heavyweights that cut down from about 300 pounds, bench 400 to 500 pounds, squats 6 plates plus. And they're mobile, they're athletic, they have outstanding cardio. There's no way a guy of your size is going to be able to compete with that.
Right.
And after a couple of fights against local heavyweights who weren't world class, such as my opponent we mentioned earlier, and other guys who were starting off at the time, I quickly saw either I got to find a way to put on 30 pounds and hold it and be lean and strong. But it's difficult because there's such a high level of cardio, which requires you to burn so many calories training for the sport. So to put on that much mass and that much muscle, which also eats up the oxygen in this type of sport, I would have been fighting science. So I had to find a way to cut down to 205 and do it scientifically so that my body's still healthy. I wasn't too dehydrated or depleted the day of a fight. So I had to seek some professional help for that.
So how hard is it personally on your body? I mean, I've seen many fighters and during their cut, and I've seen how it affects their body. How does it affect you mentally, personally?
Well, as long as it's different, I think it really depends on those last 6 weeks. There's going to be times, at least once a week, when you're going to want a cheat meal. You're either going to go to bed with a headache or feel weak, or your endorphins are going to fill up, or you're going to go ahead and eat that cheat meal and feel better. Yeah, you might have put on a couple pounds. In the back of your mind, you keep saying, "Oh, I'll start cutting next week. I'll start cutting next week." Well, then before you know it, 3 weeks you're here. You're 3 weeks out from a fight, and you're about 5 pounds heavier than you were the last time you cut weight for a fight when everything went perfect. And you're thinking, "Oh crap! Now I have to kind of double down, maybe even cut out a few more calories than I normally would eat this time." That's where you kind of feel weakened. Is you gotta kind of get with somebody, measure your body fat, measure where your BMI's at, and determine, okay, how would I have to eat every day? How you can't overdo your cardio. A lot of fighters, they have that killer instinct when they get in the gym. They tend to overtrain, and their training doesn't match the amount of cardio. Everything has to bounce. Your rest. When you're cutting weight, 8 to 10 hours of sleep is not a bad idea, especially the first month or so.
Right. Hey, I think we got a caller. We got a question for you. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, caller, you're on the air. Sports Insider with Drew Montgomery. Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Dallas-Fort Worth.
All right. So, what's your question for Drew the Hammer Montgomery?
Yeah, I just want to say that I am a big fan. I think you are awesome, and I just have a question.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm going to ask you, what do you think about fights that end in decisions made by the by judges? What do you feel about that?
Well, any good coach or manager is going to tell his fighter, you need to game plan in a way where we finish the fight. You know, knockout, technical knockout, submission. We are not going to leave it in the hands of the judges. You have to know going into a hometown, and I mean, I've seen this, 80% of my career, whether as a fighter or as a cornerman, if you go to another guy's hometown, or even if he's a world-class fighter and he's from the East Coast and you fly in from California, Nevada, and you go back east to fight a guy who's from New York and you fight him in Atlantic City, he's going to have more of a support system out there. People are driving to watch this guy fight. They're going to want to see him win. You're going to have to put no reasonable doubt in the judges and in the crowd's eyes that you won every round, or you're going to have to finish the fight, or you got to expect that the judges are probably going to overturn that to the other guy. And especially one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. Well, one of our local guys here in Sacramento, Max Griffin.
Oh yeah, Max.
He just beat the dog crap out of Thiago Alves, but he fought him in Brazil. That guy, he's a local there. He's a native.
Yep.
One of the better fighters to come out of there. I think, had he fought GSP 3 times, he could have had a chance to beat him 2 out of 3 times when they're both in their prime. Max he's up and coming. He's hungry, and he brought it to that guy. And in my mind, clearly won every round at least at 10-9. However, he left it in judges' hands, and that was the outcome.
All right, caller. Thank you very much for your question. Appreciate
I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Yes, go ahead.
When you're fighting in a foreign city that you know that they have the support system there, how do you keep them from getting inside your head? How do you keep that game face on?
Well, that would probably be a better question for one of my teammates. I have a buddy named Jamie Hara. He's fought. I've actually never been out of the United States, but friend Jamie, he had the chance to go fight in Europe, in Russia, in front of President Putin when they started that new promotion. And from the time there for a setup. The people weren't very, different country, different customs. People weren't very polite. They would ask for directions somewhere, and people would act like they don't speak English, just kind of like, yeah, whatever, you're American. But at the end of the day, if you want to take on a career as a pro fighter, you got to account all variables included before you do it. And, there's reasons why I haven't taken certain fights. I've been offered fights in Peru, in Canada. When I feel like the guy is a lot bigger, the guy has a better record as of the last few fights, the pay is not enough to financially offset me for a good time to come. That's not a fight I'm going to take. But if this is what you want to do and this is your career, you got to find a way to just when you step in that ring, it's just you and him. You have to have the personality that you don't care what anybody else thinks or what anybody else says or who is watching. You were there for you.
All right, for those of you just tuning in, you are listening to Sports Insider. My name is Glenn Spillman. We have Drew the Hammer Montgomery on the phone. Drew, let's go ahead and talk about your very first loss against John Brokowski. It was March 31st, 2007 at GC 61 Chaos at Kazar. Neck crank submission, second round, 104. Tell me about that fight.
Okay, so if you notice on my record, I fought 2 weeks prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I'm 24, 25 years old. A lot of young fighters, what do they like to do after they fight? They like to go party. So for about 3 months, I trained for that fight, the second fight. I go out, I beat this guy in 33 seconds. So
right.
At 25 years old, I have one fight that ends against a really scary individual who outsizes me by about 40 pounds, 12 seconds.
Wow.
6 months later, I beat a guy who's a pretty scary-looking individual in 33 seconds. And in my mind, it is, wow, enjoy yourself. You keep this up, and you're going to have an excellent career in this. And I try to stay humble. And I got humbled a lot playing other sports growing up, so this wasn't new to me that, hey, you have to continue to work hard. But I told myself, it's your birthday this week. Go out and have a good time. Well, I get a call after a week of drinking and eating whatever I want and going out with friends and having parties, and my coach says, hey, I want you to go fight this guy next weekend in San Francisco. And I said, well, I haven't been training, and he says, as long as you make it past the first round with this guy, you're good. Well, we probably didn't do enough research on this guy. I show up, I drive myself down to San Francisco the night before this fight for the weigh-ins. I'll never forget it. No one's there for my corner. Nobody's there supporting me.
Wow.
The biggest guy in the entire room. This guy was 6'7", 295 pounds. He walks up to me.
Holy crap.
He says, are you Drew? And I said, yeah. He goes, so I'm John. I guess we're fighting tomorrow? And he looked at me like I was a complete joke. And I said, yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I beat two guys, and one guy was not much smaller than you. So, and at that point in my career, my coach had me thinking I could take on anybody in the world.
Right.
And I say, yeah, we're going to fight. And he goes, how much do you weigh? I said, about 225. He goes, why would you want to fight? I'm a super heavyweight. Why would you want to fight me? He goes, not to mention, I just won the NAGA last year. Well, the NAGA is a big grappling tournament in Las Vegas. And if you win that tournament, you're pretty much the best in our country at the time. There's also the Pan Ams in the world where you're competing with guys from Brazil and Europe. But here, if you can win the NAGA, it looks pretty promising for you as a grappler. And I'm like, wow. So we're fighting in a small cage, which is a grappler's advantage. And the next day, he took me down right away, and I was able to launch him off of me. I got on top of him. I lumped him up from ear to ear. I put about 50 punches on him. And Cecil Peoples was the ref. I felt his hand touch my shoulder. He was just about to stop it. And I think I had the young, kind of immature mindset. I got a little bit fancy. I tried to put an armbar on this guy. I felt degraded that he looked at me like I was not a worthy opponent the day before, that he wanted to brag to me about his grappling pedigree. And, this is not a PG-rated station, correct?
No, go ahead, dude.
In my mind, I'm like, man, fuck this motherfucker. I'm going to fucking tear his arm off, okay? I go for an arm bar. We end up in a grappling match. I go for about 5 or 6 submissions, which I didn't do traditional jiu-jitsu yet. And I got real fancy. I showed the crowd a lot. I was going for stuff like omoplatas, triangles, rear naked, and this guy, he knew how to defend all that. We were starting to sweat and flip a little bit. So he made it to the second round, and he went to that corner looking like he didn't want any more. However, I think he probably got intoxicated, if any of my sweat went in his mouth, because I had been drinking the whole week before. So we go to our corner, we come back out, and I'm completely exhausted. He shot in, took me down again. I had no energy in my tank, no gas in my tank, no juice to get him off me. And he was able to get around me and get me in a weird position, and he got me in a neck crank. That fight right then and there taught me, you learn more from your losses than your wins.
Right.
That's if you're gonna fight in a smaller cage, and you think the guy's a better grappler or he's a bigger, stronger guy, it's not a good fight for you. If you're gonna fight in a bigger cage, say the UFC or Bellator, one of these bigger promotions, that's the striker's advantage. A guy who can move his feet really well and get around, a guy like, Conor McGregor, or a guy like Anderson Silva, John Jones, one of these longer fighters that can strike and move really well, Gustafsson, that's their advantage.
Right. Well, so you lose that one that you should have won. Then you won the next one against Richard Blake. And then, interesting here, 2007, September 22nd, 2007, Justin Del, if I say his name correctly, Magnaio. So you lost to him in the first round, 35 seconds, submission choke. But December 22nd, 4 months later, the same year, you beat him, TKO, first round, 217. So talk about those two fights, same fighter, talk about the loss, and then talk about the win and what you learned from that loss at GC 16.
Well, yeah, this guy and I, we actually had a lot of parallels. That was another time where my manager said, I want you to take this short notice fight. And, in that first year I learned, as a fighter, you need preparation time for a fight. You don't let someone tell you, I need you to take this fight because it maybe benefits them or someone they know. You need no less than 6 weeks to mentally prepare. Dial in, get your rest, get your diet. Some people believe in taking short notice fights. I don't unless the pay is ridiculous. And the exposure is well worth it. So we fought in a local show. This guy and I looked a lot alike. We were both, football players, about the same height, similar features and look. He had one fight. I didn't know much about him. I should have not taken the fight, but I did. So I come out, I swung wild on him, and for whatever reason, I tried to take him down. And I think it was because the prior fight, I probably fought the best wrestler I've fought in my whole career, Anthony Rubalcaba, who was a D1 wrestler from Fresno. And in my mind, I think I wanted to reprove that, hey, my ground isn't as bad as it was the last fight. So I fall right into a guillotine, and this guy chokes me. And I'm like, I heard about this around town, him training and stuff. And I just was, in my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way in hell this guy should have beaten me. So I went to the promoter and said, I want to fight that guy again. I trained probably harder than I've ever trained for any fight for that fight, just because this guy was also from West Sac. I'm from Rancho Cordova originally. It was kind of like a crosstown rivalry. Like, okay, whoever wins this fight will continue to have a career. Whoever doesn't, I mean, you're going to have to beat a lot more locals to move up the ranks again.
Right.
So I beat the dog crap out of that guy. I think I humbled him in a way where he didn't know this sport could humble you, and the guy never fought again. Really? And it wasn't intended. He was actually a really nice guy, cool guy. It was nothing against him from a fighter's point, from a competitor's standpoint. My teammates and I over at Team Carnage, one thing we've always prided ourselves on is keeping it real. Jamie Hara will literally, he will get knocked out in 30 seconds by a guy. If he's like, God damn, that guy was amazing, he will tell him and he'll preach to the world. That guy's as good as he looks. If that guy got lucky, that guy doesn't train, hard, and he's just, he got a lucky punch in. If, that guy will come over and train with us, afterwards as a, hey, I want to get better and train with different people. He'll flat out tell the guy, your jiu-jitsu sucks, your work ethic sucks. I don't know why the UFC would sign you. He has no filter. He will tell you, you suck, you are a lucky fighter, and it's a matter of time before you are not going to be fighting in the UFC anymore. However, with this guy, same concept. It was like, there's no way in hell that guy should have, everybody said. In my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way in hell he should have beat me. So it was like a matchup I had to prove to myself, like, go get it back and move forward from here. And if I didn't win, that would have been 2 losses to him. There would have been no point to fight a third time, and it would have been either go back to the drawing board, or that would have been the first time in my career ever that I had a losing career. I might have even hung him up at that point.
Wow. So that's kind of the name of the fight was actually kind of like 2 gunfighters coming at the OK Corral at high noon. It was GC73 High Noon. So that's actually pretty freaking cool, man. That's an awesome story. And then you go on after that win, you win 3 more. Let's talk about your very last fight that you fought, the last one you fought. So kind of walk us through that one. Are you there? Well, we might have some technical difficulties here, folks. Hold on 1 second. Let's see if we can get him back on here. Drew, are you there? All right, folks, let's try calling Drew back. First don't succeed, try again, right?
Please leave your message for...
It might have went dead. Well, we'll see if he calls us back. Well, anyway, he's a cool cat. Known this guy for a while, and he's also, I was going to ask him, he's also an aspiring actor, so we were going to get into that and talk to him about that. Let's try and call him one more time here.
Please leave your message.
Nope. So, oh well, folks. You know what? The show must go on. And speaking of shows, after my show, you've got Betrayal and Go On. And before my show, you've got Pot Talk. If you guys want to laugh, and when I say pot talk, it's not about marijuana. It's politically offensive talk. Check that out. And again, for those of you that want to call in, 916-420-0697. If you missed the show the following day, you can go to Spreaker.com and type in whatever show that you want to listen to, and you can check that out. And one more time. Let's give this cat one more time. Third time's a charm.
Please leave your message.
Maybe not. Maybe, you know what I think, folks? I think his phone freaking died. Either that, or he thinks that we're still on the line and he's just freaking talking. Well, anyway, let's move on. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple of games that are going on in the NBA tonight. Got the Sacramento Kings play the New York Knicks tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. They need to win that game against the Knicks. Then they need to win again on the road. They need to win 2 out of 3 on the road. They need to beat the Wizards. If they could beat Knicks tomorrow, the Wizards on Monday, They will, and if the Clippers could lose 2 in a row, then the Kings can climb a little bit higher into and get that coveted number 8 spot and go into the play, because they got a better chance. Honestly, they got a better chance of getting into the playoffs than the Los Angeles Lakers do. So let's jump into a little bit of MLB action. 6 months after the 2018 Yankees set the Major League Baseball single-season team home run record, Aaron Judge and Brett Gardner foresee the 2019 Yankees shattering that historic mark. And they say, and I quote, "We're going to hit more this year," Gardner said this past Sunday. And Judge's like, "Oh, definitely." So they're not called the Bronx Bombers for no reason. They hit 267 homers, and they seem to think that they're going to shatter that. Shattering that is probably going to get 300 or more, I'm guessing. But again, they're not called the Bronx Bombers for nothing. All right, we got Drew the Hammer Montgomery back on the phone. What happened, brother?
Oh, man, looks like I lost sight of my battery charger.
Ah, see, that's what I said. I see. I see that. I said that in my head. What I asked, the last question that I asked, I said after that fight, let's talk about your very last fight that you fought. Let's talk about that one.
Against Justin Jones.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think the odds against me in that fight were like 90-1 against me. He fights out of a big gym in San Diego. Head trainer is Chris Levin, a longtime UFC vet.
Right.
He went to the UFC after, I think he had a record of like 5-0, and then he lost 2 fights. This guy's kind of an interesting character. He lost 2 fights in the UFC. They both went to a decision. One he lost on a split. One was unanimous. One of them was beyond questionable. Once again, he fought a guy from Chicago in Chicago.
Right.
He controlled that guy the whole fight. If you judge that fight the way a judge was supposed to, he was more aggressive. He had more effective strikes landed. He controlled the guy. He took the guy down a lot and kept the guy on the ground and was working. He wasn't just laying there. And he looked less tired at the end of the fight. He clearly won the fight. One of the other fights was to a guy named Corey Anderson, who's been in the top 5 rankings in the world in the light heavy division for the last, 3 or 4 years. That fight was pretty evenly matched. Could have went either way. They gave it to Corey. But you take a guy who he's competing that high at the absolute highest level. The UFC said you lost 2 in a row, go win a few more and we'll call you back. So he comes back to the local shows in California, Fresno, Sacramento, and he is just running through guys. Like top level, state level, the top guys at the state level, he's just running through them. And then it was kind of like, okay, you need to beat up one more, semi-big name and get in. And that's where they set up a matchup with me. This guy had never been knocked down in his career.
Really?
I think he had only been taken down once or twice in his career. He lost twice, both the decisions. He never lost in his amateur career. This guy had been fighting between amateur kickboxing and high school wrestling, which he was a state champion wrestler. I believe he graduated 98 or 99. And he had been kickboxing since about 15 or 16. This guy was the real deal. He had trained a long time for this. I basically outdid this guy on the feet. Dropped him with a jab late in the first round. Probably should have backed up, let him stand up. This guy was a black belt in jiu-jitsu and a state level wrestler. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, but on the back of the cage when he hit me once on the ground. And he hit me with 3 or 4 more where it looked like I wasn't intelligently defending, which you hear the UFC refs and commentators talk about a lot. As a fighter, if you're on the bottom eating punches, you have to intelligently defend. Covering your face and just saying or letting your arms go flat out to your side doesn't look intelligent. I ate a few not looking intelligent, then I woke up and started working again, and the ref stops the fight with 10 seconds going into it would have been the end of the first round.
Wow.
I mean, I don't fault the ref. Once again, if he thought it was a good idea to stop it, then, I'm okay with that decision. Could I have won that fight had it gone into the second round, third round? Who knows? I'm not going to say I absolutely know I would have won that fight. It was a tough fight. But that was by far, on paper, the best opponent I had ever fought. And biggest name I had ever fought. And I gave him one of the toughest matchups in his career. Other than maybe Corey Anderson, who's a top 5 competitor.
Right.
So I am completely good with how the performance came out. It kind of lit a spark under me as far as, hey, this is where you're at. This is a good test. Like, there's no one out there that you can't fight in your division as long as you properly cut the weight, which is, it's always been a struggle for me. But, due to life and, having kids and family and, having a full-time job, there have been some setbacks as far as, I had to maybe put some things on the shelf for a while and focus on, other things. I'm not going to get back with kids, but I'm at a point now where I've been training. I'm ready to really focusing on my kickboxing and my strength and conditioning in the last couple of years. I'm going to go back to the mat and work a lot more jiu-jitsu now, work on getting my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Jamie Hara. And I'm also I'm looking to fight June 22nd at the Gold Country Casino in Orville, California for pure combat.
Okay. So let's talk, now how can people get tickets to your next fight?
What I will do is I will post online.
Okay.
Just updates of tickets. I've never actually set up a link where you can just pay and have the tickets shipped to you. The way the promoters have always kind of done it is, hey, we physically hand you tickets, go sell them. Normally I give a couple tickets out to certain people who I know can sell a lot. Or I tell people just come to my gym and meet me. I've met people at malls. I mean, that's pretty much all the other fighters have done it. But I think this time I might set up a link online and say, if you want to buy tickets, buy them now, because it's one of those things where if we don't have the money, a lot of people always pull the whole, hold a few tickets for me. Well, I mean, the day of a fight, the promoter wants their tickets back, and if you don't have if you gave the tickets up and you don't have the money, you're going to have the money.
Right.
And if people don't have the money and you can't cover them, you have to give the tickets back. So it's just one of those things where it's never easy for fighters to sell tickets, but it's a big part of the local shows, citywide, statewide now. Nationwide, all the promoters have kind of gone to it, amateur and pro. So I think I'm going to try and set up a link where I can have these shipped to people, and that way, if they want to PayPal me, it's already taken care of, and that's one less thing I got to worry about.
All right, so we got about 7 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about some shenanigans that are going on in the MMA, whether it's with UFC, the AMI world, Bellator or whatever. Let's talk about some shenanigans, and I'm sure you've had some firsthand dealings with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know right now, currently, a lot of people talk about Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a guy who, he's a very intelligent marketer. He saw in the UFC, a lot of guys will consistently fight on TV. The UFC and the sport kind of preach, we want humble, professional athletes, okay? That is how you're you.
Right.
Once he knew, hey, I'm that good to be the best in the world, and I can talk trash about it to make more money, that's when he took it and ran with it. But at some point, it's kind of like they created a monster out of the guy. You know, getting that boxing match with Mayweather and making, you know, a retarded $50 million something dollars. At that point, it's like he didn't need the money anymore, but now he's still a hype monster. He doesn't need to fight anymore. And now it's kind of like a lot of others are like, well, I want that money. How do I get the money? So you got guys like Nate Diaz. You got all these other guys who either get a chance to fight a guy like that, or maybe even have nothing to do with it. Everybody's trying to be a hype monster now. Everybody's trying to be a trash talker. Everybody's shoving each other away. Even at the amateur shows, you got guys shoving guys at the weigh-ins. It's like, no offense, but who the hell do you think you are? You haven't even established yourself. Like,
right.
Chill out.
Right.
Okay, there's probably still guys in the crowd that might kick your ass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy some of the shenanigans that McGregor has pulled. You know, he'll be late to a press conference, or he won't show up, or you have a big freaking debacle like when he fought Khabib, and the end of the fight, freaking melee. You know, and I guess Khabib got suspended for what was it, 9 months? That he got suspended.
I think so, and I mean a relatively stiff fine.
Yeah.
A lot of when you get to that level, when you're a world champion, you might only fight twice a year anyway. So it's kind of like they imposed a punishment and make it seem like to the public and to the fans like this will not be tolerated. But it's like, yeah, rarely do we see a guy who's a world champion for the UFC or Bellator even fight twice in a 6-month period. So did they really impose a legitimate punishment? They didn't give him a 2 or 3 year suspension where he's going to get rusty and other guys in his weight class are going to get better, you know?
Yeah, nothing like Diaz when they suspend, or they like 3 years for smoking weed, you know?
Yes.
That's freaking stupid.
Well, and I mean, you look at that, it's like, okay, weed is banned on the WADA list for the athletic commissions, Nevada, California, all of them, because it's listed as a
Schedule 1
performance enhancer.
Yeah.
They're against the recreational use of certain drugs. A lot of, after parties are a big part of the UFC. A lot of the guys, they ban cocaine, ecstasy, and these other party drugs for a reason. That's a good idea, because back in the day when I started fighting, there were guys doing that stuff right up until 3-4 days out. You had a lot of, bikers, thuggy guys that were into the sport back in the day. Now that it's more established, the fight culture is, a lot of partying goes along with it. Guys used to announce their after parties when they win their fights in the UFC cage. And I think White and the UFC told guys, we want to get away from that, stop doing that, because boxers aren't doing that.
Right.
So, but stop doing that. But trust me, it still happens. But a lot of the fighters, a lot of good fighters I know, actually do smoke weed, or they use other edibles or whatever, because training takes a lot of strain on your muscle, and a lot of guys that play football in college, a lot of them are under the belief if you're already in shape and you ingest or smoke weed at moderate levels, it's not going to affect your cardio. However,
right.
if you're out of shape and you're trying to get into shape, that's a little bit different.
Right.
And also, MMA fighters, they drink a lot of water, they're healthy, they diet, so it's probably going to relax their mind a little bit. It's going to help relax their muscles, help them their night. It's no wonder why a lot of guys, they're like, I'm not going to quit smoking weed. They smoke every weekend for several months, had to cut it off 2-3 weeks before a fight, and it's just not enough time to wash it out of the system. The commission has a problem with that. So they give guys a stiff punishment like Nick Diaz, because he got popped several times. Do I think it's fair? Absolutely not. When you got guys who are jumping over cages and starting the 40-person melee in the front row for people who spent $500 to $1,000 for tickets, they shouldn't have to have a riot land on their lap.
Exactly.
While a guy getting suspended for 3 years who's just trying to smoke weed paid after a 6-hour training day so he can relax and do it again the next day.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all.
All right. Well, hey, man, I'm sorry to cut you off, brother, but we are almost out of time. I want to thank you for your time. And, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Drew the Hammer Montgomery. And, brother, we need to do this again, man. This time went by too quick.
I'm all about it. Thanks again for having me on the station. Yeah, just let me know, and you give me a call whenever, man.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
All right, bro.
All right, bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Drew the Hammer Montgomery. Really cool cat, really cool guy. Had a lot of fun interviewing him. And we've got to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you guys listening to us every week on Armed Radio. We are here 9 p.m. Eastern. You guys have a good weekend. See you next week. Peace out.